Yeah, times are hard, but you got to be just as hard about your life and how you want to show up and live it. Okay? You're welcome. Today on Adjusting, we are continuing our conversation from fear to freedom. What if it actually works out? And today we're adjusting our lens to curiosity. And we're not just talking about the cute curiosity, we're talking about the curiosity that really resonates with your nervous system and makes you stop and question things like, I wonder if, and what if? Like, ask the important questions. We're going to talk about more about living in the gray, embracing curiosity, and how curiosity and chaos can't coexist. Teaching you some new terms here and there. And I'm leaving you with 5 important things that will really help you embrace this new you and embrace curiosity. So I hope you learned something from this episode today. Sit back, relax, and welcome to Adjusting. And we're back with another episode of Adjusting Podcast with your host, Justin G. Nelson. This episode is so good. I was writing and editing the outline, and I was just like, oh, so many good things, so many good thoughts, so many good lived experiences. So, I don't want to jump right in. So, hi, welcome back. We are halfway through this part of the series about adjusting from fear to freedom and what if it actually works out. And we're still going to wrestle with the thought of curiosity because a lot of us treat curiosity like it's some taboo thing, and I want us to be comfortable with the curiosity. All right. So before we get started, thank you to TJ with TJ podcast for editing. Thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel and my Substack. I'm seeing the numbers. We're seeing the numbers. Great. And thank you for showing up for yourself and doing the work. Be sure to share this episode and this whole platform with someone that you feel needs to make some adjustments. But do it in like a nice way, not a passive aggressive way. Okay, we're going to be direct and not passive. All right? So, I invite you to do a grounding breath with me so that we can really ingest this episode and take it in and really do something with our nervous system. So if you're driving, focus on the road. If you're not and you have a second to ground yourself, I invite you to do so now. Plant your feet flat on the ground. Relax your ankles, relax your shins, relax your knees, relax your thighs, relax your hips, relax your stomach. Moving up and relax your chest, relax your shoulders, roll them back, relax your neck. Relax your cheek, relax your forehead, close your eyes, and take a deep breath in for 4 counts, hold for 7, and release for 8. Let's begin. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let it all out. Ugh. Okay? And to do one more deep breath in and out just to get anything else out. Breathe in and out. Great. All right, so we're jumping in. So today we are talking about adjusting your lens, okay? The power of curiosity. We're going to look at curiosity a little deeper and like what really is curiosity and compare it to fear. We're going to learn some new vocabulary words today too cuz we be bastardizing words like boundaries and I'm gonna reclaim my time and protecting my peace and the narcissistic. So we're gonna add some more words to our vocabulary so that we know what we're talking about. Okay, words like hypervigilance and rigid. I can't even say the word myself. Rigidity. That's it. Rigidity. RIGIDITY. Keep that in. Okay, because I was struggling myself earlier. All right, so what is curiosity really? And what did fear do with it? So, starting with defining curiosity as both a mindset and a practice. Curiosity is not the same as optimism. Boom, you're welcome. Okay. Curiosity is, Optimism says, it's not everything will be fine. It's the willingness to ask, I wonder what this is and how it shows up and what is it here to show me. That's curiosity, all right? Even when you're scared, think of it like this. Fear is, what if this goes wrong? Curiosity asks, what if I learn something from this moment, from this instance, from this reality I'm in? Like, what if I learn something from this? Good or bad? You learn, I shouldn't do that again. You learn, I'm happy I made this decision. I found a new way to solve X, Y, and Z. This is a fundamentally found way to create a different operating system. Like you're creating that neuroplasticity, like you're reversing, or I don't want to say reversing your nervous system, but you are finding ways to soothe your nervous system by being curious. Okay. As a mindset, curiosity is the belief that your life is still unfolding. We can't be these. This is my faith believers, my Christians out there. We can't practice the word and talk about God has not given us a spirit of fear and still operate in fear. Okay, that's not Christ-like. That's not doing that. And we have to believe that your life is still unfolding. That you don't have to have everything figured out right now. Every book you read takes you on a journey. Every life that is lived is a journey full of questions, full of curiosity. Like, I think curiosity and childhood goes hand in hand. I might be jumping ahead because this outline is great. But a lot of adults are just children with bills and responsibility, and a lot of us take it too serious. Okay, be serious about some things like your health, making sure you're healthy, make sure you have food. Okay, the essential things. But when it comes to passion and projects and hobbies and skills, where's the fun? Okay, where did we go wrong? When did we allow capitalism and the patriarchy and fascism and those things rob us of curiosity and fun? Yeah, times are hard, but you got to be just as hard about your life and how you want to show up and live it. Okay? You're welcome. So, as a practice, curiosity, it means making the choice deliberately, especially when your nervous system is screaming at you to just brace for impact. In psychology, here's your term, we call this growth mindset. Okay, this is not a get rich die trying podcast. This is not a pyramid scheme. It was at M2M. We're not talking about that. Growth mindset. The idea that your abilities, your healing, your story aren't fixed. Okay, that the only thing that's fixed is your social security number. Okay, you can't change that. Everything else you can change. You can change. Curiosity is that engine. Um, you can't grow in the direction you refuse to look at. Think of a plant. Okay, the plant is reaching towards the sun. It is growing up towards the sun because the sun is pulling it that way, and it looks up to the sun for energy, for support, for growth, for nutrients, for all those things. You can't grow if you looking back. You're gonna be deformed. Okay? You can't grow in the direction you refuse to look at. You're looking in the past, you could be stuck in the past. Okay? But if you see that bright light ahead of you and you see the curiosity and it's pulling you like out of your comfort zone, out of that scarcity mindset, that's the opposite of growth mindset. Like you have to be able and willing, the willingness to try, to be curious, to live in the gray. Okay? We're adjusting our lens this episode. So, how fear closes us down and what this actually looks like. So, when you're living in fear, we stop being curious about ourselves. Again, childhood, we rob ourselves of the curiosity, the exploration, the journey, the what ifs, the oopsie daisies, like all those moments. We go into what therapists call hypervigilance. That's your second word. So we talked about growth mindset. Now we're talking about hypervigilance. What is that? It's constantly scanning for threats. So we talked about in previous episodes with the fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, like those anxiety reactions that happen. And I was so proud, y'all. I was at either I was listening to a podcast or at a book event or something, and somebody talked about. No, 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 no. I think I told you about this. I was at Every Brilliant Thing, the musical. Well, it's the play on Broadway, and the director and I think the writer, like they're therapists, and Daniel Radcliffe, the actor who was portraying the role, talked about fight, flight, and freeze. He didn't talk about fawn, but I was like, I talked about that on the podcast. I was really happy. But back to hypervigilance. And when everything feels like a threat, you stop exploring. You just manage, you settle, you just cope, you just survive. Fear is a contraction psychologically, and well, it literally tightens the chest, shallows the breath, and narrows the focus. It's designed to help you escape a lion. It's not designed to help you build a creative life. Okay. And then sometimes imposter syndrome pops up. I had that this week. I was supposed to be talking at church Sunday for mental health ministry Sunday, and we just had too much on the program. So I was just like, it's fine. But like imposter syndrome popped up because I was just like, will people take me serious? Like, will people want to hear from me because I don't have credentials and I don't have all the letters behind my name? And I'm speaking from my lived experience, but because I show up as someone who is very mindful and happy, and I was like, you don't deal with mental health, huh? You think I've always been like this? Thank you, but no, no, hell, half of my sarcasm comes from trauma. It's a shield, a protection. Okay, my words cut because I have to, you know. But I allowed that moment to just like really derail me. And I was just like, no, like I've done the work. I've done almost 6 years of therapy and read all these self-help books and grown a lot from my childhood to now. So I am worthy to speak. So anyway, I'm not speaking, but Minister Washington is going to do a great job, and we're launching our mental health ministry at church, and I'm so happy. Anyway, fear makes you small on purpose. It's not a character flaw. All right, back to the episode. That's your nervous system trying to protect you, but it means you can spend years making yourself smaller than you are. And I went to y'all. I got a lot of side notes. So I went to Alexandria L's book event for her newest book, "The Company We Keep," and we talked about at the end of the session or the commentary. She was just saying, when are you going to stop settling? And when are you going to stop shrinking? A lot of us shrink in places for the comfort of other people. And fear does that to us a lot. We get afraid of outshining and in a way leaving people behind and being perceived as a know-it-all. And we allow those moments and those settings and those unhealthy and old communities to create an ideal of fear of being too loud or too smart or too creative to shrink us, to dim our light. So we have to get out of those spaces and live, be big, live big, live big. If you get nothing else from this episode, live big. Perfect. Okay. So what the absence of curiosity looks like in relationship, and this is gonna get personal, it ain't gonna get graphic, but there was Kennedy Ryan talked about at her book event, shame and how sexual shame is not addressed enough. And she's a pastor's kid, and she does a great job in her books talking about characters, like real authentic characters, primarily women, but women. I think in Score, this character has a bipolar disorder, and then in her book before that, Real, the character was dealing with lupus. In another book she wrote, the character's mom was dealing with dementia. And so like all these characters have real stories and real experiences, but she wanted to also talk about sexual shame and how one character in Score is bisexual, and a lot of people shun or question people in the LGBTQAI plus community, primarily bisexual people, because of their curiosity of both sexes. And this character was able to explore her same sex attraction to women as well as her partner that we meet in the book. So I just thought that was great because it wasn't done in a vulgar way. It was done in a healthy, curious kind of way. So in relationships, you stop asking questions and you start making assumptions. You assume you know how things are going to go, probably bad. Okay, probably bad because you're basing a new relationship off something that's already happened. So you either people please to prevent the bad thing or you pull back so it doesn't happen. Okay, so you can protect yourself from the thing. And I think that goes back to like avoidant and anxious attachment styles. But you stop being curious about who this person actually is because you're too busy managing your fear of losing them. Yeah, I'm talking to you. And this shows up in our bodies too, especially around sexuality. So this is I was trying to give you a precursor about this. So many of us were never given permission to be curious about what we want, what feels good, or what we even think about desire. Shame has a way of making us strangers to ourselves, even in the most intimate ways. And when we've never been safe enough to wonder about that part of you, you either shut down completely or you flip the script and you go out exploring everything. And then you get hurt along the way because you never had that type of protection or anyone to kind I don't want to say a mentor because I don't think sexual mentors are a thing, but you never had the language or the know-how to protect yourself. And so your curiosity can either be good or bad. There are bad sides of curiosity, but you've never been safe enough to wonder about that part of you. You either shut down completely or you outsource it, letting other people define your desire for you because you never got to. That's what I was trying to say. That's not just relationship wound, it's a self disconnection wound. So it's like self abandonment, self disconnection. Like a lot of stuff starts with self. And I'm gonna do another episode that I was inspired by from the Company We Keep book about adjusting your center. Like who and what are you centering in your life and why is it not you? Okay, like you can keep Jesus in your everyday life, but it's still at the end of the day you have to center yourself and what you need and who you are and your purpose and what you're trying to get to. You have to center that. And I think some of us are off center. So that's gonna be another episode. But anyway, in creative work, we stop experimenting. Okay, and I think that is one thing the artist way, the book really helps a lot of people to do is to experiment, to go on artist date, to color outside the lines, you know? And I think as a creative, I can compare this to food. Like we know our palate, we know what we like. We don't know other things we like because we get stuck in routine. But when you go to a restaurant and say, let me just try this, let me sample this. Like, when was the last time you sampled something creatively? Okay, I'm not saying commit to it wholeheartedly, but like sample something. And you sample some wine, you sample a dish, you're just like, that's actually good. Like, go to an ice cream shop and sample something that you would never try and be like, wow. So that is curiosity at work. That is the safest way to be curious about something is to sample it. You're welcome. I love that. You only make the thing you're sure people will like. You second guess every idea before it's even born. You call it perfectionism, but underneath it is fear. Okay. Fear that if you try something new and it doesn't work, it means something about your worth. In healing, we avoid uncomfortable feelings. When I am under the influence, I let my feelings just go. I write down stuff. I will make notes about it. I don't cry often, but I process a lot of things. You may skip a therapy session. You stay in the pattern because it's at least familiar. That dopamine, those cortisols, the serotonin, like all those things. You get a routine of like, if I do this, I know it makes me feel like this, and that's all I need. Is it? Is it all you need? And familiarity feels like safety even when it isn't. You're not curious about what's underneath. You're just trying not to fall apart. And when your daily life, you stop dreaming out loud. You talk yourself out of things before you even start. You answer, I'm fine, before the question is finished. How you doing? I'm fine. Okay. Okay. Don't worry about it. And it makes people not want to approach you because you're so guarded. Unlock the door. Let people in. People love you. Anyway, what we lose when curiosity goes quiet. Now, listen. Simply put, we lose ourselves. We lose ourselves when curiosity goes quiet. We lose that childhood spark. We lose our why. We lose our purpose. We lose our love. We lose joy. Okay? Slowly, not all at once. But as time goes on, we stop discovering new things about who we are, what we love, and what we're capable of. We start living a very edited version of ourselves. And a lot of this has to do with social media. Comparison syndrome kicks in and we start comparing ourselves to other people, and because we can't keep up, what's that girl group, the 4 and the 5 and the 4 in the city, we're not keeping up with the Joneses, so we're not doing enough. You giving your worth over to other people who don't even know you. We stop growing, and I don't mean that in the hustle culture way. I mean it in a you were made for more than survival mode kind of way. What is it going to take? Will curiosity be the thing you need to actually live the life you know you want to live? A lot of us were taught, this is for my churchy people. Okay, a lot of us were taught in religious settings that asking questions was dangerous. My pastor, Reverend Dr. Adolphus, Reverend Dr. Fresky Lofton back in Memphis, Tennessee, that man, I was afraid to question him because of his upbringing and his credentials, and I was just like, this man has written like 50,000 books. Who am I to question him? And he didn't mind it. Did we go back? We did. We did go back and forth. But that doubt was the opposite of faith. The questioning of it was the opposite of faith. But I want to offer you a reframe. Curiosity might be one of the most spiritual things you can practice. Okay? The mystics call it a beginner's mind. The Psalms are full of questions, even in your deconstruction era. Okay? Maybe, especially in deconstruction, curiosity is the thing that keeps you connected to something real when the old framework no longer works. That's what I mean by tradition. I appreciate tradition for what it represents, what it holds, what it brings to the foundation of a setting or a space. I don't always agree with the practices because some of the people who set up that traditional setting had some trauma. Okay, they had some egos, and they were only trying to look out for what they were wanting to accomplish in that moment, not looking ahead. Tradition served the now and not always the future. Okay, and that's why so many people are deconstructing their faith right now, because those systems don't work. And the people who are getting degrees and doctorate and da 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 da, they are sustaining those traditions and values and not listening to this new generation. Not saying that we trying to rewrite the Bible and rewrite Christianity, and no, 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 no. We're trying to find how we fit in. Because if we went by tradition, none of us fit in. None of us, okay? Um, so yeah, you don't have all the answers. You just have to be willing to keep asking. Now we're going to move on to section 2, because that was a long section 1. How to notice when fear has taken the wheel. So how to notice when fear has replaced curiosity. The first sign is rigidity. I said it right this time. When you notice you're not able to consider another possibility, when what if this is fine literally feels impossible to access, that's fear. That's your nervous system in a contradicted state. Now, here's a new word. Some of y'all heard this, but another sign is rumination. What does that mean? Okay. Replaying the same worst case scenario on a loop. It's a commercial. It's an ad playing. It's like being on TikTok and you don't scroll. That's rumination, playing the same. Yeah. That's not problem solving. That is fear in a nice ad in your head. All right. You might not notice avoidance. Scrolling instead of creating, canceling plans, starting or staying in a situationship because it's comfortable and it meets your needs right now, but you know good and goddamn well deep down inside, it ain't what you want. It feels good in the moment. The dopamine mining feels really good, but it's not what you want. Okay? Avoidance and curiosity cannot coexist. You can't wonder about something you keep running from. How you gonna live the life you know you want and you running backwards? We talked about this in the first section. Ask yourself, when was the last time I did something just to see what would happen? If you can't remember, fear has probably been driving for a while. Yeah. How to shift from anxiety to curiosity. So start with the phrase, I wonder. I always, I say this a lot. Um, if is there a world where, and people just say, why do you say that? I say because I don't want to sound condescending to someone. I just want to think about other options. I'm always thinking about other options. Okay, when someone says one thing, and I'm just like, is there option two? Is there another option? There has to be more than one option. Okay, there's always more than one option. Literally say it out loud or write it down. I wonder what this is teaching me. I wonder what it would feel like if it worked. I wonder what I actually want here. It sounds simple and it is powerful. I wonder. I wonder. Say it. Say it. Perfect. It sounds simple and but it's doing work. It moves your brain from threat detection to exploration mode. Name the fear first. Don't bypass it. Okay. Name what it is. Before you shift, say, I'm scared that. And finish the sentence honestly, because curiosity isn't about skipping the fear. It's about getting curious about the fear itself. Why am I so scared of this? Why am I afraid to launch this business? Why am I afraid to promote myself? Why am I afraid to leave this relationship? I know you might feel comfortable, but your nervous system is working overtime. Leave the friendship, okay? You'll be fine. You'll find the people who actually support you and show up for you the way you want. Because a lot of us have been showing up for people that don't show up for us. Yeah, I see it. When you feel anxiety rising, try softening your gaze. This is like a somatic therapy kind of thing. Literally unfocusing your eyes slightly and taking a breath that's longer than an exhale. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system. You're literally telling your body we're safe enough to look around, and curiosity needs a safety signal to come online. So change the question. Instead of what if this goes wrong, ask yourself, what's the most interesting thing that could happen? Do it with a smile. Roll your shoulders back and say that. How curiosity feels different in the body. So we talked about this. Curiosity feels like bracing, tightness of chest, shallow breathing. Your stomach is clenched. Curiosity feels like leaning forward, rolling your shoulders back, and smile like you feel like a little bit of light on your face. It's a softening. Your shoulders drop a little. Your breath goes a little deeper, but because you're trying to be in the moment, you don't want to miss anything. There's a quality of aliveness that happens with curiosity. I love when I'm having a good, deep conversation with somebody. I'm like, yeah, tell me more. I hate when people say, let's unpack this. But anyway, tell me more. Okay, so how does that feel? Where do you feel that? Okay, anything else you want to add to it? Like those questions in a conversation, I love that because it means I'm curious to learn what it is you've learned, because I don't expect anyone to have the definite answer or the end all be all to that topic, but it makes me curious to learn more about something. Um, and then the connection between curiosity and self-compassion. So here's something I want you to sit with. You cannot be curious about yourself if you are also being cruel to yourself. That can't exist either. Okay? We talked about looking back, trying to move forward. You can't do that. You can't be curious and cruel. They can't exist. Self-compassion has to work here. And this is something that Dr. Thelma Bryant talks about in Homecoming. Okay, coming home to yourself in a way that allows you to see yourself who you are through a fresh lens, honoring the trauma that has happened, but also giving praise to who you have become from the trauma and doing the work to actively shift your mindset to have a better life. That is a summary. That is a summary off the top of my head of the book. She talks about coming home to parts of yourself you've abandoned. And I think curiosity is actually at the front door. It's the welcome mat. Okay, it's right there. Some of y'all need to replace y'all welcome back, but we ain't talking about that. But curiosity is at the front door. You can't return to something you're too ashamed to look at. Okay, some of y'all probably got laundry on the bed and you ashamed, but you got to put this stuff away. And then once you put it away, get curious about, do I actually wear this? Or what would look better with this? Or could I get this to somebody else? Make decisions through your curiosity. And so many of us have been in survival mode for so long, busy but not healed, that we've never paused long enough to even ask those parts of us what we need. Curiosity is the pause. Living in the gray is the pause. Alex talked about she is stuck in the black or white thinking. I wanted to yell out, live in the gray. But it wasn't my event. Okay. So I didn't want to be like, oh, and it was just, what, 4 guys in there? And what's up? It's okay. It's okay. I'm doing the work. I'm making space for both men and women to show up and have healthy conversations. Okay. I'm doing the work. This is why adjusting is here. Pausing. Great. Okay. But that's the thing that makes the homecoming possible. And again, talking about sexuality, whether it's shame or desire about your body, about what you want or who you want it, that is some of the hardest territory to be curious in, because some people use sex as a coping mechanism and it hurts other people through the process. So I'm not saying go out here and be sexually curious and do things with in and bad. No, you got to be smart. You got to use your brain. But the moment you get genuinely interested in the why you feel so much shame about something, you start to see it for what it is. A story someone else handed to you, okay, about who you're allowed to be, and you get to decide if you still want to carry it or not. That's all I'm saying, okay? Your parents did the best they could. Your teachers did the best they could. Your church did the best they could. But at the end of the day, it is your decision to live the life that you know you want. Okay? All right, so section 3. We're about to wrap this up. Section 3, applying 5 things to consider as you practice curiosity over anxiety. Number one, raise your hand and say number 1. Curiosity doesn't require certainty, it requires willingness. How willing are you to try to live in the gray? You don't have to feel safe to get curious. You just have to be willing to try on every question. Every 10% of you showing up being willing is enough to let your body know you are trying. Okay, if you can give 10% to Jesus financially, you can give 10% to yourself emotionally, psychologically. Okay, do the work. The shift doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be honest. Can I be even a little bit open to not knowing how this turns out? That's it. That's the practice. Number 2, your relationship with curiosity probably started in childhood, and that is worth investigating. Okay, I mentioned earlier, like a lot of us are just children in adult bodies with adult responsibilities. But you were praised, or were you praised for asking questions or told you were doing too much? Did curiosity get you in trouble? Were you raised around people who interpreted uncertainty as a threat? Okay, that's their problem. That was their insecurity and their ego. Okay, but the way you relate to not knowing as an adult is often shaped by what happened when you didn't know as a kid. Get curious about that. That is what you need to be curious about. Getting curious about that is its own type of healing. Number 3, fear-based living often masquerades as practicality. So listen to this. Not all caution is wisdom. Okay, not everything is discernment, because y'all love to. It's discernment. I'm just using discernment. My discernment told me this. I ain't discernment that told you nothing. Some of it is fear in a trench coat, calling itself being realistic. Other is fear in a bust down middle part, calling itself discernment in some stilettos. There's a difference between healthy discernment, and reflective shutdown. Curiosity helps you tell the difference because it asks, is this actually dangerous, or does it just feel unfamiliar? Unfamiliarity is not the same as unsafe. Number 4, you are allowed to be curious about your own joy. As long as it doesn't kill you, be curious about it. I ain't saying go do crack. I ain't saying I'm going to do all these drugs. I'm just healthy things, okay? We spend so much time analyzing our pain, and that matters. We need to get to the root of the pain, okay? But so much of therapy is dealing with the bad, and that matters. That's work. But you are allowed to wonder what makes you come alive. What lights you up? What is one thing that you would do for the rest of your life if you weren't paid for it that would get you out of bed in the morning? That is that thing you need to focus on. What is a version of your life you'd build if fear wasn't the architect? Joy is not frivolous. Wondering about it is not naive. It's actually one of the most radical things someone healing from trauma can do. Dare to imagine something good. And number 5, curiosity is cumulative. The more you practice, the more you have access to it. Okay? Every time you choose, I wonder over what if, you're building a new neural pathway. You're training your brain to scan for possibility instead of only scanning for threat. It won't feel natural right away, and that's okay. The goal isn't to feel fearless. The goal is to become someone who can be scared and still curious. That's the version of you that's waiting on the other side of this. So, I want to leave you with this today. Curiosity is not the absence of fear. It's what you choose to do while fear is still in the room. Okay? So, are you going to go to the ice cream shop in your emotional settings and pick one thing to be curious about? It's the decision to stay open even when everything in you wants to close, and that's not a small thing. It's one of the most powerful redirects available to you as a human being. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being curious. Thank you for embracing the gray. And I hope and pray that you will slow down, pause, ask the questions, and start to rewrite your story one page at a time. Until next time, keep adjusting. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you take something away to help you make the adjustments you need. Before you go, please take a quick second to share this with someone you care about. And if you can, please leave a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. For more information about adjusting or to inquire about being a guest, head over to adjustingpod.com. Until next time.